She had been in the Army for just 3 weeks, and Private First Class Miller already knew she had made a terrible mistake. The heavy pack on her back felt like it was filled with bricks. The Texas sun was a physical weight pressing down on her shoulders, and the relentless shouts of the drill sergeants had become the background music of her new, miserable life. But the worst part, the absolute worst part, wasn't the physical pain. It was the other recruits. Her name was Maya Miller. She was 22 years old, fresh out of college with a degree in political science, and had joined to pay off her student loans and, if she was being honest, to find some direction. She was also quiet, bookish, and had a perpetually worried look on her face that she couldn't seem to shake. This made her a target. The ringleader was a bullish man named Private Kowalski. He was a few years older, a former construction worker who had joined for the signing bonus. He was broad-shouldered, loud, and had already established himself as the unofficial alpha of their platoon. He saw Miller's quietness not as shyness, but as weakness. "Hey, college girl," he'd jeer during the rare moments of rest, his voice carrying across the barracks. "You lost? The library's that way." A few of his cronies would snicker. Miller would just stare at her boots, her jaw tight. She wouldn't give him the satisfaction of a reaction. It escalated from there. During a particularly brutal ruck march, Kowalski sidled up next to her. "You're gonna fall out," he predicted, his voice a low, cruel whisper. "We're all waiting for it. Got a pool going on how many minutes until you quit? I've got 20. Don't let me down." He clapped her hard on the shoulder, almost making her stumble. Her legs burned. Her feet were raw. The sun was a white-hot brand in the sky. For a moment, the thought of just stopping, of falling to her knees and giving up, was overwhelmingly seductive. And on her shoulders, adjusted her grip on her on her shoulders, adjusted her grip on her rifle, and put one foot in front of the other. She didn't fall out. Kowalski lost his $20. The hazing was constant and creative. Her footlocker would be mysteriously dumped out when she got back from the showers. Her bunk would be found unmade by an invisible hand, earning her extra duty. They'd hide her cleaning supplies, her boots, her hat. They called her the Ghost because she was so quiet, so seemingly insignificant, that they joked she was barely there. They thought they were breaking her. They had no idea they were forging her. The worst incident happened in the mess hall. Tired, hungry, and sore, Miller was carrying her tray to a table. As she passed Kowalski, he subtly stuck out his foot. She tripped, her tray clattering to the floor, a food and drink splattering across her uniform and the floor. The entire mess hall went silent for a beat, and then a wave of laughter crashed over her. Kowalski looked down at her, a mock-innocent look on his face. "Oh, sorry, Ghost. Didn't see you there. Guess you really are invisible." Humiliation burned in her cheeks. Tears of anger and frustration pricked at her eyes, but she furiously blinked them back. She got to her hands and knees, ignoring the jeers, and began to clean up the mess with her bare hands. A mess hall worker came with a mop, and she just nodded her thanks, not trusting herself to speak. She finished cleaning, picked up her empty tray, and walked out without any food. That night in her bunk, she didn't cry. She just stared at the ceiling, her mind a perfect, cold, clear blank. She wasn't thinking about Kowalski or his friends. She was thinking about the mission. There was always a mission. Basic training ended. Miller, and to the surprise of many, including Kowalski, passed with flying colors. She was quiet, but she was competent. She was a fast learner, excelled in marksmanship, and showed a strange, almost preternatural calm under pressure during field exercises. While others panicked, she just adapted. She was then shipped off to her advanced individual training, and Kowalski and his crew faded into the background noise of her memory. She had a new focus now, and the years that followed were a blur of hard work and quiet dedication. She was selected for the best schools, impressing her instructors not with bravado, but with a quiet, analytical mind and an unshakable resolve. She learned to speak 2 languages fluently. She studied military history and strategy. She learned about unconventional warfare, about the gray areas where politics and combat blurred. She was promoted quickly. The quiet, worried-looking girl from basic training was gone, and in her place was a confident, capable officer. But the core of her remained the same, observant, calm, and relentlessly focused on the mission. She found her true calling in military intelligence. It was a world of puzzles and patterns, of seeing the battlefield not just as a physical space, but as a human one. Her ability to stay quiet, to listen, to observe the smallest details, the very traits that had made her a target for bullies, became her greatest assets. She served 2 tours, and not in a frontline infantry unit, but in the shadows, working with Allied forces, building networks, and gathering the intelligence that kept soldiers alive. She earned a Bronze Star and a fistful of other commendations, each one a quiet testament to her skill. She never looked for glory, she just did the job. Now Captain Miller stood at the front of a sterile, windowless briefing room at a large stateside base. Waiting for her new team. This was a waiting for her new team. This was a high-stakes, high-visibility mission, the kind that could make or break a career. The Joint Chiefs were watching. The Pentagon was watching. It was the most important assignment of her life, and she had personally requested the best team for it. The door swung open, and a group of soldiers filed in, their boots echoing on the linoleum floor. They were an impressive bunch, seasoned NCOs and specialists, the best their units had to offer. They took their seats, their eyes appraising the room, and finally settling on the slight figure of the female captain at the front. You could almost see the mental calculations happening behind their eyes. An intel puke, a REMF. Probably never left the wire. Their body language was casual, a little dismissive. They were operators, doers. Some voice was low and clear, with no wasted voice was low and clear, with no wasted words. Good morning. I'm Captain Miller. For the next 6 weeks you will be working for me. Your mission, should you choose to accept it, and you have no choice, is Operation Silent Thunder. She clicked a remote, and the map on the wall was overlaid with satellite imagery and troop movements. 2 weeks ago, a high-value asset, a tribal leader critical to regional stability, was taken by a militant faction. His name is Hakim Nazari. He is being held somewhere in this mountain range. She pointed to a specific valley. Our intelligence indicates he is being guarded by a force of approximately 50 hostiles. The terrain is brutal, the weather is turning, and a direct assault is impossible without heavy casualties and certain failure. She clicked to another slide, a close-up of a narrow pass. Your job is to get in, get him out, and leave no trace. This is a covert rescue, not an invasion. You will be a ghost. As she spoke, detailing the complex plan involving halo jumps, night movements, and a carefully timed extraction, a change came over the room. The casual slouching stopped. The skeptical looks faded. They began to lean forward, and their eyes glued to the map, their minds engaging with the intricate problem she was laying out. This wasn't a PowerPoint briefing from some bureaucrat. This was a commander who understood the terrain, the enemy, and the fine details of their craft. She spoke their language. In the back of the room, a large, broad-shouldered sergeant sat frozen. His face had gone pale under its tan. It was Sergeant First Class Kowalski. He was part of this hand-picked team, his reputation as a tough, dependable squad leader the reason he was here. He stared at the captain at the front of the room, his mind racing. He saw the sharp uniform, the confident stance, the quiet authority. And he saw the ghost of the terrified, clumsy private he had tormented years ago, the girl whose food he had spilled, the girl he had called the ghost, the girl he had laughed at for being invisible. The realization hit him like a physical blow. This wasn't some random intel officer. This was her. This quiet, a powerful woman, laying out a plan of staggering complexity with absolute mastery, was the person he had bullied for his own amusement. The humiliation he had heaped on her came rushing back, a sickening wave of memory. He saw the mess hall floor, saw his own foot sticking out, heard the laughter. He felt a cold knot of dread tighten in his stomach. Captain Miller's briefing continued, her voice never wavering. She assigned roles, designated rally points, and outlined contingencies for every conceivable scenario. She was in complete control. Finally, she clicked off the presentation and turned to face them fully. "Any questions?" she asked. There was a respectful silence. No one had any. The mission was crystal clear. "Good, dismissed. Sergeant First Class Kowalski," she said, her voice still calm and even. "Please stay behind. I'd like a word." Kowalski felt every pair of eyes in the room flick to him for a split second before his teammates filed out, the door clicking shut behind them with a sound like a prison door slamming. He was alone with her. He stood there, a mountain of a man, suddenly feeling small and foolish. He didn't know what to expect. A dressing down? A public humiliation to get even for the past? He braced himself. Captain Miller walked slowly around the briefing table, her eyes never leaving his. She stopped a few feet away from him. The silence was absolute. He could hear his own heartbeat thudding in his ears. "Sergeant Kowalski," she began, her voice soft. $20. You owe me $20. For a second, he didn't understand. He just stared at her, his mind blank with terror. Then the memory surfaced. The ruck march, the pool. "I've got 20. Don't let me down." A tiny, almost imperceptible smile touched the corner of her mouth. It wasn't a cruel smile. Yes, it was something else. Recognition, a shared, absurd history. The tension in the room, thick enough to cut, suddenly vanished. Kowalski blinked. He opened his mouth to speak, but no words came out. He had prepared for anger, for revenge, for a career-ending chewing out. He had not prepared for this. For her to acknowledge the past with such a simple private joke. It was utterly disarming. Captain, he stammered. She held up a hand, silencing him. The hint of a smile was gone, replaced by the professional mask of a commander. "That was a long time ago, Sergeant," she said. "Another world. Right now, I don't care about any of that. I care about one thing and one thing only, the success of this mission. Sergeant First Class Kowalski, your file says you're one of the best squad leaders in the battalion. Your team respects you. You have the experience we need in that valley. So here is the only question that matters to me. Can I trust you to do your job?" He stood there, the weight of the moment pressing down on him. She had just given him an out. She had just separated the boy he was from the soldier he had become. She wasn't interested in settling a score. She was interested in completing the mission. And in that moment, he understood the profound difference between them. He had been a bully. She was a leader. All the fear, the dread, the shame, was replaced by a surge of profound respect. He straightened his back to his full height, his eyes locking with hers. There was no hesitation in his voice now. It was the firm, clear voice of a professional soldier. "Yes, ma'am," he said. "You can trust me, completely, with my life, and with the lives of my men." Captain Miller held his gaze for a long moment. She saw the truth in his eyes. The past was the past. This was the future. "Good," she said simply. "Then get your squad ready. We move out in 48 hours. Dismissed." Kowalski saluted, his arm snapping up with perfect precision. She returned the salute.